Hey YouTubers, Redfish Ross here. I've been asked by some of my subscribers to do a video on how I target trout and redfish. I don't want, it's kind of hard video to do because I don't ever want to come across as being some kind of expert, which I'm not. I'm just a guy that fishes, and I've been fishing for a long time, so I got a little bit of handle on where to go and what to look for. And the first thing I do on a day that I'm going to go fish, I've got a weather station, and I check the wind speed and the barometric pressure. And I pretty much know from those two things and the wind direction, I pretty much know when I leave the house if I'm gonna be going trout or redfish or both. If the weather's right, if you've got redfish like unsettled weather, that's been my experience. Really good red fishing days are a falling barometer, clouds, wind, not up to a point, and trout. You can catch trout under those conditions too. Now, when the pressure gets high and you get calm days and bright sunshine, in my experience, it's a lot harder to catch redfish. But trout, you can still catch trout under those conditions, but you're not going to catch a lot of big ones in my experience when it's like that. And as far as to where I'm going to fish, I don't make that decision until I get to the boat ramp and see where the tide's at. If the tide, you need to learn the water that you're going to call your home water to fish. The more time you can spend out there looking around, the better off you are. And I've been doing it for so long that I can get to the boat ramp and I can look at the level of the water in the boat ramp, and I'll make my decision as to where I'm going to go from that. If it's real high, I'll go one place. If it's real low, I'll go to another. If it's kind of a medium tide, I'll know where to go under those conditions too. When you get a real high tide, I like to go to places that normally would not be fishable. When you we get our spring tides, we call flood tides in the spring and the fall. We'll get like a 2-foot tide, and you can go to places that would have this much water, has now got this much water. And those fish like moving into new areas, in my experience. They're kind of like cows in a pasture. If you got a pasture divided and all the cows are on one side and they can't get to the other, but then all of a sudden you open the gate, guess what? All them cows are going over to the new pasture. And fish, in my experience, kind of act like that too. When you get a flood tide and they can go places where they normally couldn't go, I think the bait and everything else goes too, and I think they like new water. So I like a flood tide. Most people don't like it because they say it scatters the fish and they're hard to find. But it goes back to having experience on your home water. And I know when the tide floods and it gets like that, I know places that fish like, and I'll go into those places, and 9 out of 10 times I find fish in there. As far as structure, there's not a lot of structure in the flats. You've got grass, sand, a little bit of shell, not much around here. And the depths run from inches to 3 feet in our flats. Our flats are pretty, there's not a lot of variation in them. The other thing I do to target fish is when I'm in a flat and I'm drifting, and when you catch that first fish, pay close attention to where that fish was at. If he was in the sand, in the shallow sand, if he was in the deep sand, if he was in the grass, or if he was on the edge of the sand. Most of the time, wherever you catch that first one, you can pretty much eliminate some of that other water. Uh, if they're in potholes that are 18 inches deep, you're probably not going to find them in potholes that are 3 foot deep. If they're in the grass, they're probably going to be shallower. Sometimes they'll be on the edge of the holes. Sometimes they'll be in the middle of the potholes. And pothole being a bare spot in the flat with just sand. Birds are great. Brown pelicans diving, man, that's a good place to fish. Brown pelicans dive on bait, and it's usually the same kind of bait that trout and redfish like. So, or if you see seagulls hovering, or even just sitting. If you're out in the flat, and sometimes it's miles of open water, and all of a sudden you look over and you see 5 or 6 seagulls sitting together on the water. Even though they're not doing anything, they probably were, and they're waiting to do something again. There's probably some fish around there somewhere. I'm always on the lookout for birds. Many a times I've been struggling to find fish, and I see 2 or 3 brown pelicans hitting the water, and I'll ease over there towards them, and a lot of times it pays off. Like I said, for structures, there's just not a lot of structure in the flat. It's pretty much, I mean, you have different bottoms. You have places where there's big stretches of sand. You have places where there's no sand. And you have, like I discussed in that video where I was catching trout, you have like what we call a model bottom, where you got grass and sand mixed. And usually, in my experience, that's usually a pretty good bet, except when it gets really cold. For some reason, when it gets really cold, they seem to like to get in the sand, and especially on sunny days. And I think that sand, when that sunlight goes through there and hits that sand, I think it kind of radiates heat back up or something. I know that I've had real good luck fishing sand when it's been cold, and then you get a day when it warms up and you get some sunshine. Keep a logbook. That will help you immensely targeting trout and redfish. I did it for years, but now since I'm doing videos, I've got a video log I can go back and look at. But after almost 40 years, 30 some odd years of doing this in my home waters, I pretty much can remember, under what conditions and what time of year. But it never hurts. I'll go back. I'll look at videos and say, well, I remember I caught some really nice trout. Not sure exactly when it was. I'll go back and see. Oh, it was September. So, but if you keep a logbook, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to write a biography. Just get a cheap notebook, spiral notebook, and every time you go fishing, put in there the date, what kind of weather you got, what you caught, and where they were. Were they on the sand? Were they in the grass? Were they, in the drop-offs or whatever? If you do that for a year, you can go back and you can go back to that book and say, well, look, here in September I did this, August I did this, November I did this, and it's really a big help. You can pattern fish that way. And that goes back to experience. And the more you go, and the more you keep that logbook, you can always go back and have at least an idea of where the fish might be. Really important. That's a big deal, keeping a logbook. Drifting and looking. You know, I see guys, especially nowadays, the thing is these 70-mile-an-hour boats with these big towers and everything on them, which is fine. You know, I don't have a problem with that at all. But you see these guys will run right through the middle of the flat, just flying. And they're up in the tower, and there's a fish, there's a fish, there's a fish. And they just keep running, and then they make a big loop and come back, and they want to try to catch those fish. Well, that ain't happening. You know, if you're going to do that, if you're going to run and look, that's fine. But as soon as you start seeing fish, you should shut down and start drifting. Because you know if there's a few there, there's probably more up ahead of you. And you really don't need confirmation that they're up there. You need to drift and throw and see if you can find them and get them to bite. Like I said, the weather and the tide, it really determines how I target trout and redfish. And the weather determines more what I want to fish for. The tide determines where I want to fish, and the wind. You know, there's certain winds you have to make adjustments for: north wind, south wind, east wind, west wind, all that stuff. Like I said, I'm no expert. This is just some of the things I do, and I feel like if a subscriber, or subscribers in this case, ask a question, then I'm going to try to answer it. And I feel like if you're going to have a YouTube channel and you're going to fish and have subscribers, you know, I try to answer everything that anybody asks. I try to answer every comment that I get. If somebody asks, I'm going to try to do something like this to answer. And if y'all have any more questions, or if there's something I didn't cover that you want to know about, leave a comment in the box, and I'll get back with you. Or you can email me at redfishross@yahoo.com. And I appreciate all the support. Man, my subscribers are great. Supportive and always, you know, they've always got good comments. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody watching. And like I said, I'll do my best to try to answer anything that's asked or anything like that. So I hope this answered the questions about how I target trout and redfish. And thanks again. I appreciate the support. Redfish Ross out.